An unmarked white envelope arrived one quiet afternoon, addressed to me in crude, uneven handwriting. That envelope was the beginning of everything. I'm Sarah, approaching 60, and I divorced my husband 15 years ago after discovering his affair. Since then, I had lived alone, enjoying my independence. But for the past year, I had been sharing a home with my second son, Jack, and his girlfriend, Daisy. My eldest son, Tom, now 35, lived on his own in an apartment near his workplace. Life was peaceful. I worked part-time, surrounded by the small comforts of routine. And then, that envelope changed everything. Inside, I found a hotel bill, not addressed to me, but to my eldest son, Tom. My breath caught as I scanned the details. It wasn't just any bill, it was an invoice for wedding and reception expenses, dated 2 weeks prior. Wedding. Reception. A heavy weight settled in my chest. Had Tom gotten married? I knew he had a girlfriend. I had met her once, months ago. Michelle. I still remembered how she barely made eye contact, how her responses were clipped, as if speaking to me was an unbearable burden. At the time, there had been no talk of marriage. And now, a wedding had already taken place. Without a word to me, I dialed Tom's number with shaking hands, but the call went unanswered. Maybe he was at work. Desperate for answers, I tried the landline at his apartment, only to be met with an unfamiliar voice, Michelle. The moment she realized who was calling, her irritation was palpable. "Ooh. This is why I told Tom to get rid of this landline," she muttered. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. What does this mean? Did you and Tom get married? Are you living together? We got married, she answered flatly. We're living together. So what? My fingers tightened around the phone. I received a bill from the hotel. I had no idea there was a wedding. Why wasn't I told? Oh, it arrived already. Michelle responded, unfazed. I sent it to you. I was hoping you'd pay. The words sent a cold shock through me. What? The venue let us pay later. We covered the deposit, but we figured you'd take care of the rest. I was speechless. They had a wedding without inviting me, without even informing me, and now they expected me to foot the bill? Michelle let out an impatient sigh. Tom insisted on marrying me. I didn't want to deal with the whole mother-in-law thing, so I refused many times. But since he was so determined, I finally agreed, on the condition that you cover the costs. Naturally, that's your responsibility. My grip on the phone trembled. You expect me to pay for a wedding I wasn't even invited to? If you refuse, do you realize Tom will be buried in debt? Her voice was cold, emotionless. For a moment, I couldn't speak. My own son had gone behind my back, and now his wife, his new wife, was demanding I take on a financial burden I had never agreed to. What does Tom say about all this? I managed. He says it's fine, of course, she said matter-of-factly. And don't bother trying to contact him, I already blocked your number. My stomach twisted. That explained why I couldn't reach him earlier. Also, let me make something clear, she continued, her tone sharp. Other than for weddings, funerals, or emergencies, don't contact us at all. And even for those, we won't participate in anything that costs money. The sheer cruelty of her words made my blood run cold. Why are you avoiding me like this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Isn't it obvious? She scoffed. Mother-in-laws are nothing but a nuisance. Besides, you're poor after your divorce, aren't you? We can't have you begging us for money. A bitter laugh escaped me. If you think I'm so poor, why the hell are you sending me this bill? That's a separate issue. Just make sure to pay it. And with that, she hung up. I stood there, the dial tone humming in my ear, my hands trembling. Hours seemed to pass as I remained frozen in that dimly lit room, until a familiar voice pulled me back to reality. Mom. It was Jack. Tears blurred my vision as I turned to him, my voice breaking as I explained everything. The betrayal. The call. The bill. $20,000. Jack's expression darkened. That's impossible. I mean, his wife, she doesn't sound like a good person, does she? I swallowed hard. I never had a good feeling about her. But Tom, he's always looked down on me. Ever since he was a child, ever since my ex-mother-in-law spoiled him rotten, he treated me as if I was worthless. Jack clenched his fists. And now, after all that, they have the nerve to demand money from you. I sighed heavily. I could pay it. The alimony from my ex-husband is enough. But I don't want to. I was planning to save that money for you and Daisy, maybe for your wedding, or for when you have children. Jack's face softened. Mom, that money is yours. You don't have to use it for us. And you definitely don't owe my brother anything. He took the bill from my hands. I'll take care of this. You're not paying a single cent. And just like that, I felt a weight lift from my chest. 2 weeks passed before Michelle called again. Hey, why haven't you paid yet? She snapped. The venue just called because the payment deadline passed. I took a slow breath, steadying myself. Jack and I discussed it. We decided there's no need to pay. A stunned silence followed. You, what? She shrieked. We already spent all the wedding cash gifts. We even moved. What the hell are we supposed to do now? You moved. I asked. Where? Shut up. It doesn't matter. It was then that I realized, this woman truly wanted nothing to do with me. I had been cast aside, a disposable figure in their lives. But maybe, just maybe, that was for the best. Taking a deep breath, I made my decision. All right, I said calmly. I'll make you a counteroffer. I'll give you $10,000, and in exchange. The decision was final. We part ways, I said firmly. No contact. Not for weddings, not for funerals. We live as if the other does not exist. How about that? Michelle's response was swift, her voice dripping with disdain. $10,000 isn't enough. I need at least 20. A bitter laugh threatened to escape me. What are you thinking? You didn't invite me to the wedding. You didn't even tell me where you moved. And yet, you still expect me to hand over $20,000. I don't care, she snapped. You only have about 20 years left to live anyway. We're going to live twice as long as you, so I might as well take all your money now. It was cruel. Crueler than anything I had ever expected. We'll get that $20,000 from you one way or another, she continued coldly. And once you pay, per your wish, we cut ties for good. I didn't want to hear her voice anymore. I didn't want to deal with Tom or Michelle ever again. If $20,000 could buy me peace, then so be it. Jack would have been furious if he knew. But I just wanted this nightmare to end. A year passed. Jack and Daisy got married, and they were ready to start their new life together. Though I planned to live on my own, they both insisted that I stay with them. Overwhelmed by their kindness, I decided to support them as best as I could. I gave them a wedding gift, prepaid 2 years' rent for their home, and helped with their mortgage. I wanted nothing more than to see them happy. And then, just when I thought I was free of the past, Michelle called again. Tom's brother and his wife are building a house, aren't they? You helped them, right? I could hear the resentment in her voice, laced with something more, jealousy. Because of you, Tom is working 2 jobs just to get by. He's exhausted, all because you only gave us a mere $20,000. I was stunned. Had she been keeping tabs on me? How did she know? But we had an agreement, I reminded her. You accepted the money. That was the end of it. Shut up, she spat. And then, her voice changed, low, deliberate, as if she were delivering a checkmate. We're having a baby. What are you going to do about that? I blinked. Oh, congratulations. I could practically hear her smirk through the phone. That's right. You're going to be a grandmother. So, what now? Surely you won't ignore your own grandchild. But I had already made up my mind. Michelle, I said calmly, we agreed to cut ties. No matter what. And that includes this. The line went silent for a moment. Then, she exploded. You think you're so high and mighty? Fine. Even if you beg, I won't let you see the baby. You'll regret this. The call ended with a sharp click. Michelle thought she held the ultimate trump card, the promise of a grandchild. But what she didn't know was that I was already about to become a grandmother. Daisy was 8 months pregnant. And not just with one baby, she was carrying twins. A boy and a girl. My heart swelled with joy at the thought. I was sorry, but I had no interest in Tom's child at all. Half a year later, Daisy gave birth safely, and my days were filled with happiness. My hands were always busy, rocking the babies to sleep, feeding them, watching them grow. I had never felt so loved, so needed. Then, out of the blue, I received an email. It was from Tom. Attached was a photo, Michelle, holding a baby in her arms, Tom standing beside her. I stared at it for a long moment. And then, I deleted it. A few days later, Michelle called again. Her voice was unnervingly sweet. "Did you see the picture? Isn't he adorable?" "Yes," I replied. "So?" Michelle sounded almost offended. "Don't talk like that. I went out of my way to show you your grandson. Your eldest grandson. You could at least send a gift." I sighed. We had an agreement. No contact except for weddings and funerals. "Well, yes," she admitted quickly, "but normally, a parent would still send something to celebrate." "I'm sticking to the agreement, Michelle." Silence. Then, Michelle seemed to realize she was wasting her time. "Fine," she muttered, and I heard a rustling sound before the phone was passed to Tom. "That was between you and Michelle," he said smoothly. "Not me. So, send me the money instead." I almost laughed. "Excuse me." "It's your eldest grandson," he emphasized. "Shouldn't you take care of him?" I could hear it then, the thinly veiled threat. According to Tom, the way I treated my grandson now would determine how I was treated in my old age. I smiled. "I don't need you to worry about my old age, Tom." His voice hardened. "You think you can rely on Jack? With 2 kids of his own. Do you really think he'll take care of you?" "I'm not planning to rely on Jack and his family," I said simply. Tom scoffed. "So what are you going to do? You didn't get much from Dad's alimony. Wouldn't it be better to cozy up to us now?" There it was, that smug arrogance, the assumption that I was helpless, that I needed him. I let out a soft laugh. "Like I said, I'll be fine. I've been paying into a personal pension since I was young. It's an old policy with great rates. I receive about $800 a month from it, and another $800 from my government pension. That's more than enough for me to live comfortably." Silence. Tom was stunned. For the first time, he realized I didn't need him. But that'll only be enough if nothing happens," he sputtered. "When you get older, when your body starts failing, you'll come crawling to us for help." I laughed again, light and carefree. "Don't worry," I said. "I already cancelled the life insurance where you were the beneficiary." His breath hitched. "You, what?" "I had policies for both you and Jack since you were born. I used yours to cover that $20,000 you and Michelle wanted so badly. Pity, isn't it? If I hadn't cancelled it, you would have received about $100,000 when I passed away." "No way." "If you're going to blame someone, blame Michelle," I said pleasantly. "She was the one who insisted on squeezing money out of me by any means necessary." I could hear him struggling to find words, but I didn't feel the need to listen anymore. Satisfied, I hung up. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Tom and Michelle's marriage had started crumbling. There were talks of divorce, but with financial disputes and child support concerns, they were stuck, trapped in a house together, neither willing to give an inch. It was fitting, in a way. A life consumed by greed would only lead to misery. As for me, I was content. I had started working part-time as a cleaner, not because I needed the money, but because I wanted to keep myself active and ensure I never became a burden to Jack and Daisy. Surrounded by love, by the warmth of my family and the laughter of my grandchildren, I knew one thing for certain. I was truly, finally, happy.